Now let's look at the purchase action in the controller servlet. This is the action that processes the form submission from the checkout page. If there are no validation errors and the transaction succeeds, the confirmation page is displayed. If there are validation errors or the transaction does not succeed, then the checkout page is displayed again. Here's the code for the purchase action. The first line that checks if the cart is null is simply a sanity check. If we coded our application correctly, the cart will not be null when this action is called. The purchase action occurs when the submit button is checked on the checkout page, provided that client-side form validation did not find an error. When the form is submitted, all of its fields are sent to the server as request parameters. You can see here that the first significant action in this code is to store those request parameters in string variables. Once this is done, form validation is performed by the validator object. The controller servlet calls the validate form method with the request variables plus the request object. If a validation error is found, the validation error flag is added to the request scope, and the client is returned to the checkout page, where a message is displayed regarding the errors. If no validation error occurs, the place order method is called with the order manager object. All variables needed to create a customer record are passed in, along with the shopping cart object. The shopping cart object is obtained from the session scope at the beginning of the doPost method. If all goes well with the place order method, it means that the appropriate records were added to the database, and the primary key of the order record, which is non-zero, is returned. If something goes wrong, the place order method will return 0 for the order ID. In that case, the validation error flag attribute is set, and the client is returned to the checkout page. Finally, if everything goes well, that means the transaction has been successfully processed. When that happens, the cart is nullified, the session is reset by calling the invalidate method, and the getOrderDetails method is called with the order ID obtained from the place order method. The getOrderDetails method gets information from the database using session beans and entity classes and returns the information in the form of a map. The code you see here puts the information into request scope attributes so that the confirmation page can display them.